What's up, guys? Doug Polk here with a CardPlayer exclusive strategy video, and today we're going to be talking about combo draws. I find this is a subject that a lot of people are interested in because it can oftentimes be difficult. When you have a straight draw plus flush draw going on, in general, you're looking to try and bet and raise the flop, because if you do face a re-raise there, you're going to be able to continue. Now, there might be a couple exceptions where if you do get raised to a large size and you have a very weak combo draw, maybe something like 4-3 of hearts on 10-6-2 with 2 hearts, maybe if you get jammed on the flop, you won't be able to call it off. But in general, these hands want a fast play because there's so many rounds they can value bet on that, combined with your fold equity in the pot, then your overall EV increases drastically by playing them aggressively. The turn is where I think combo draws can end up being pretty tricky, because if you do check raise the flop, for example, let's just say you're in the big blind, you call raise, the flop comes something like 10-8-4, you have a hand like 9-6 of spades on 10-8-4-2 spades, and you check raise the flop. Well, if the turn is a brick and you bet and get jammed on, oftentimes you end up having to bet fold. So for this reason, if you do decide to check raise the flop with your combo draws and you think you're playing an opponent who's very aggressive, it can make a lot of sense to go for a double check raise. Now, I'm not advocating to get too crazy with double check raising. I think in general it's something that should be reserved for maybe some combo draws, and additionally a couple of value bets that don't block too many of their bet calls. But in general, these hands can make by far the most sense to take this line with. It's also okay to go for the check call with them, because even if they don't have the showdown value necessary to call, they have just the raw equity given how often they improve to good hands. And then also sometimes you will pair up and get to check the turn. Get to check the river, and if they check back, you will show down profitably. So as a general rule, I would say to bet or raise the flop. And then on the turn, I would analyze the situation, think about how likely it is that you're going to get raised. If you do think it's likely, you might want to work in some check calls or a check raise yourself to protect your equity in the pot. But if you think it's unlikely they're going to raise, I see no reason to not keep barreling. Also, when you have very, very strong combo draws, such as the nut flush draw plus a gut shot, an open-ended straight flush draw, all of those kinds of hands, you almost always want to continue to fast play, because these hands oftentimes are going to improve to value bets, and you want to either make your opponent fold, or when they do call, river a hand that's very strong. Turn and river a hand that's very strong. Now, let's talk a little bit about the river just briefly. When you're fast playing your combo draws, if you do brick out, they could be a reasonable hand to give up with on the river, because you block all of the draws your opponent could have that would fold. So in those situations, you fast played the flop, bet the turn, this might be a hand you'd want to look to give up. However, if other hands have gotten there, maybe some straights, maybe the backdoor flush, you could consider turning this hand into a bluff, but I would look at all of the hands in the spot that I could have when deciding that. I would say a good general rule is play the flop fast, tend to lean towards betting the turn, but don't be afraid to either check raise or check call, and then on the river, probably check fold if you don't get there. Remember, sometimes combo draws, even though they seem very strong, and they are very strong, they still do brick a lot of the time. If you have a straight draw plus flush draw hand on the flop, where it's a gut shot plus a flush draw, your chance of having a good hand by the river is still only 40%. And while that is a good frequency, most of the time you're still going to miss your draw. So don't get too carried away with these hands, and make sure to play the turn and river based on the run out and your range. If you're interested in more content about how to play your combo draws, I'd recommend checking out the Upswing Poker Lab.